Alabama State Senate is expected to vote today on a controversial abortion bill. If it's voted through, it would be the nation's most restrictive abortion bill, essentially banning all abortions entirely, except for when a mother's life is in danger.
Now, this comes after Democratic lawmakers attempted to add exceptions to the bill that would protect victims of rape and incest. CBS News correspondent Jericka Duncan has more from the state capitol in Montgomery.
Every woman should have access to the care that she needs, regardless of her zip code.
Dr. Jericka Robinson is one of the only doctors still allowed to perform abortions in Alabama. She says lawmakers are letting their moral beliefs take precedence over what's best for women as lawmakers decide whether to ban abortions across the entire state.
It limits physicians in their ability to be able to do what's best for their patients.
According to Alabama's bill, it would ban all abortion-related acts except to preserve the health of the mother. If passed, a doctor who performed an abortion would face up to 99 years in prison. Representative Terry Collins is the bill's sponsor.
The bill is meant to address Roe versus Wade and the issue that decision was made on, which was, is the baby in the womb a person?
Just last week, Georgia became the 6th state to enact a heartbeat bill, banning abortion after a heartbeat is detectable in the embryo. None of those states' laws are currently in effect because they are facing extensive legal challenges.
She didn't even make a motion.
A vote on the Alabama bill was postponed last week after a shouting match erupted on the Senate chamber floor.
He made a motion to table.
It followed a Republican motion to dismiss an amendment that would make rape or incest an exception. Democrats are expected to reintroduce that amendment today. But Dr. Robinson is concerned that abortion care already faces too many hurdles, including a 48-hour waiting period after a consultation before a woman can get the procedure.
Women know what's best for them. As physicians, we know what's best for our patients. I think together we can make that decision.
And Jericka joins us now from Montgomery, Alabama. So, Jericka, Democrats oppose this bill. Some Republicans are reportedly concerned about the lack of exceptions in the case of rape or incest. So is there daylight between the two?
Well, I just want to set the scene here for you in Montgomery, Alabama. The Montgomery Advertiser's, the front page of their paper, the story about this abortion bill. And then, of course, on the USA Today, there's mention about this bill and others that have been considered across the country. Behind me, what you're looking at are people that are talking to folks who are going inside this abortion clinic to my right and trying to convince them not to go forward with having an abortion. And we actually have seen a number of women and some of their partners with them as they go in for this procedure. One woman was actually crying when she got out of the car. You could even see that there was a child seat in the back of that car where she got out with her partner. Obviously, when you talk to the people here, they will tell you that it's not an easy decision, these people being the ones trying to convince women not to go forward. So definitely a tough decision, a hot topic here in Montgomery, Alabama, but with bigger implications because so many states are challenging Roe v. Wade, essentially, are hoping to get this to the point where it moves up and up and up till we're talking about the Supreme Court possibly looking at this again. And when you talk to people, like I said, the gentleman behind me, David Day, said he's been out here for the last 5 years, essentially, as part of a ministry through his church to convince women not to go forward with this. But he said this is about hoping to overturn Roe v. Wade in the end.
Well, you brought up something. It may be about overturning Roe v. Wade, but it's still the law of the land right now. So what will happen to this law if it's passed?
So it passed in the House, and again, it's going to likely pass in the Senate. When you look at just the number of Republicans in the state Senate here, 27 of the 35 seats are with Republicans. The issue today is that they wanted to make an amendment that says that another exception would be if someone is raped or if you're talking about incest. But either way, when you talk to both Democrats and Republicans, it's clear that this bill has the support to move forward to the governor's office. And even if the governor doesn't sign here in the state of Alabama, they could override that veto with a simple majority. So this bill will likely become law for all intents purposes here. But the issue is you have groups that are going to fight this and say that legally you can't do this because of Roe v. Wade.
Jericka, I'm just curious. This is the most restrictive version of laws in this category that we've been seeing popping up all across the country, but it's particularly restrictive here. Are voters in support of this law?
Yeah, there was an amendment, and I don't want to quote exactly, but I believe there was an amendment where there was like 60% of people here favoring, voters that favored an abortion law of some kind out, making that illegal here in this state. So there is support here. But again, it gets so complicated because you have so many states fighting, 16 just this year alone, that have tried to change some of those abortion laws and rights across the country. But at the end of the day, we're still, a country that follows the law of the land, and that's the Supreme Court. But again, this is a fight for these states to try and get their arguments before the Supreme Court so that it could be overturned. This coming from people who want Roe v. Wade to be overturned. But when you talk to the people that are here getting the procedure, some don't want to have, yet they don't have anything to say, especially as of right now. But just the doctor that you heard from in the piece and other women that we've talked to for this story and others that we've covered will tell you that they believe it is their body, it is their right to choose what they want to do.
So, Jericka, I mean, are the people that you're speaking to in Montgomery, do they have a sense, either those that are for this bill or those that are against it, as to why we're seeing an uptick in anti-abortion legislation across the country?
Well, I think if you just look at state legislatures across the country, they are Republican controlled. Conservatives tend to be with the Republican Party. And then you have a president that is Republican, that is conservative in this view of anti-abortion. And then you have a Supreme Court now that is mainly conservative. It's 5-4 conservative. And even Justice Kavanaugh, at his hearing, you may recall that it was Senator Collins that asked him his thoughts on Roe v. Wade, and his answer was precedent is precedent. And a lot of people are wondering how this will play out. And, it's been over 40 years now with Roe v. Wade. But when you see all of these states bringing about these different bills and legislation and challenging it in the way that we're seeing it now, one does question whether or not there will be more to come when it comes to the Supreme Court and their involvement or role in precedent that we've now seen for the last 40+ years.
All right, Jericka Duncan reporting for us in Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you, Jericka. We appreciate it.